Good afternoon. Sorry, I'm a few minutes late. I don't even have like a good technical excuse as to why I'm late. I actually just couldn't find the books I was talking about this afternoon. I put them somewhere really safe and I then forgot where that place was. Turned out it was the walk-in wardrobe, in case anybody's ever looking for anything in my house. I also, because I was running really late, I actually haven't brushed my hair. I've just looked at myself in this screen and thought, wow, that's a lot going on in my hair. Sorry about that. We better just get stuck straight into it and ignore the fact that I am a week overdue for a haircut and there's just all sorts of things happening. Anyway, I do love my shirt that I'm wearing this afternoon. It's a Jericho Road shirt, which is a Brisbane-based label, and it's two sisters that created this label, and they are both teachers, and they just do a really great job of all things beautiful and bright patterns, and I love their stuff. And I wore it especially because I noticed on the front cover of this book that I'm just about to talk about, Cheryl Orsini has done a dress on the mum that is quite similar to the one that I'm wearing. And in fact, it made me think, I often think about this. I wonder if the ladies from Jericho Road, who often collaborate with artists to design their fabrics, I wonder if they've ever thought about collaborating with children's books illustrators, because children's books illustrators are A, amazing artists, and B, they do such great end papers, which I often look at and think would make really good fabric choices. So anyway, first book that I want to talk about this afternoon is Christmas Wonder, and it's by Vicky Conley and it's illustrated by Cheryl Orsini. Now, I've been reading this book to kindergarten to grade 6 for the last 2 weeks, maybe a little bit over 2 weeks now, and they have been absolutely loving it. I was adding up probably how many times I've read it. I think I'm close to having read this book 70 times now, so I can pretty much recite it. And the reason that I've read it so much is that I have been then getting some of the older classes to use this book as inspiration for their own poetry. So the last lines in the book are, crackers popping, stars above, Christmas wonder, peace and love. And we've been using stars above, Christmas wonder, peace and love as the starting point for our own poetry. And we've been writing our own poem about Christmas wonder and what that means to us. I absolutely love this book. It's so incredibly Australian, and so many of the books from my childhood about Christmas showed a white Christmas, which, like, let's face it, a white Christmas is ace, but we don't all have a white Christmas. I can see that Jackie Child has just joined. I know she's had a lot of white Christmases, and I can see that Ange Harris from Tasmania is on at the moment, and things are very cold in Tasmania at the moment, I hear. Not that I think you have a white Christmas, but Christmas in Australia tends to be really, really, really hot, and the Christmas books from my childhood did not reflect this. So I am so pleased we now have really beautiful books which reflect an Australian Christmas. Love this book. The text is perfect. It's a rhyming text, and they always make me nervous for the author because rhyming text is so hard to get right. But Vicky Conley has done such a great job. It's really beautiful. Christmas time, 7 sleeps, busy house, tummy leaps. Brightest star, forest smell, angel girl, golden bell. Silver ribbon, fancy box, glitter paper, magic socks. I'll finish there, but it goes on, and it just has, actually this is my favourite double page spread, because probably my favourite thing about Christmas, apart from family, of course, is the food. And I love this one. I love the sticky hands and the sweet spice. And my memories around Christmas and what I try to create for my children around Christmas is things to do with the smells of Christmas. And when I've been showing this book to students at school, when we get to this page, I've been saying, this looks a lot like my kitchen at Christmas time, because I often have, they've got some fruits drying up there. And whilst I don't have a huge amount of fruits drying beautifully in my walk-in pantry, looking delectable, I do love the smell of dried oranges in particular, and I love drying fruits, and I love cinnamon spices smells, and oh my gosh, I just love everything about this picture. It is beautiful. One of my favourite things to make at Christmas is gingerbread, and if you are still online, the recipe that I used for gingerbread is still the one from when you and I did a gingerbread house cooking course. It's an amazing recipe. It's got treacle in it and lots of spice, and I sometimes double the spice because I just love the smell of Christmas. So I love this page. I really love Cheryl Orsini's illustrations. And I gave myself a pat on the back when I first showed the cover of this book to the kids at school, because every single class, even the kindergarten boys and girls, they all said, oh, that's by the lady who did Lucy's book and the fairy dances and Mrs. Mancini, because Cheryl Orsini is one of my favourite illustrators. And in fact, in Lucy's book, she illustrated me in some of my Gorman clothes, I think it was that time, into that book as the image of the librarian. And I just have always really enjoyed her illustrations. I love the colours that she uses. They're, you know, really beautiful tones. They're you know, they're not really, I mean, they are bright, but they're not primary colours. They're beautiful hues. She uses a lot of pink and red and beautiful greens, different shades of gumleaf green and blues. They're just really lovely illustrations. And I also really like that you can often spot elements of things which she seems to put in most of her books. I'm assuming this is the sort of the Dachshund Cheryl from it actually doesn't actually look like a dachshund now I look at it, but Cheryl always has done, well, Natalie Jane Pryor, who she's done a lot of books with, loves dachshunds, and so there's often a lot of dachshund in Natalie Jane Pryor's books, and there's always these gorgeous little pets in her books, and she does beautiful potted plants, beautiful indoor plants. She just does, I don't know, gorgeous little details that you can pore over for hours. I love this barbecue going, you know, berserk here, because who doesn't love the burnt sausage? My brother-in-law is Belgian, and he really hates the way we char meat in Australia on a barbecue. They would never do that in Europe. He puts the sausages to the Australians on one plate and then his sausages on another plate. And to us, they look raw. We love a bit of burnt. So this book, I think, celebrates everything that is Australian. This was another one of my favourite pages because I love carols in the park at Christmas time. And even those kind of weird little plastic candles that we now get that turn on and they're battery operated, they're a bit weird. But, you know, I just love, you know, the candles are over here for sale and it's just gorgeous. I really, really like it. So, yeah, we've been using this book as inspiration for our own version of Christmas Wonder and really thinking deeply about what are the things that make Christmas wonderful and magical and joyous for us as families. And that's been different for everybody. In fact, quite a few of the Chinese girls said, we don't really do a lot for Christmas. So they've talked more about Chinese New Year. And we've got Middle Eastern families and they've talked about the different smells of the foods. And it's been this lovely time of reading about the Christmases of their peers and seeing all of the differences, but also all of the similarities. And I love that the story ends with a shared extended family and friends outdoor lunch under the hills hoist. It's just gorgeous. I just absolutely adore it. So Christmas Wonder by Vicky Conley and Cheryl Orsini. In a similar vein, and this one has been out for a number of years now, What Do You Wish For by Jane Godwin and Anna Walker. Again, this one to me just screams Australia, Christmas in Australia. And all of the things that we saw pictured in Vicky and Cheryl's Christmas Wonder, we again see in What Do You Wish For. It's just gorgeous. Both of them celebrate community, and I just love that about them. Now, again, I come back to end papers, people. Do you not think this would look fabulous as fabric or wallpaper? You know, or on cushions. I can just really see this happening. Jane Godwin, many of you would know, and I've spoken about her books numerous times. On Five on Friday, I spoke about her middle grade book recently, and I've just reviewed that on the blog. I adore her writing. It's got this real heart about it, and there's a real authenticity to her characters. And in this one, Ruby is getting excited about Christmas, and you can see that Ruby lives, I suspect this is potentially kind of like Melbourne terrace houses. She lives in a street where they're all gearing up for Christmas, and the centre of Christmas seems to happen around this beautiful tree that they are all decorating together. And I love the idea that we do something together as a community at Christmas. And everybody is putting tags onto this tree in the street about what they wish for Christmas. And Amy wishes she could go camping. Ivy wants a skateboard. Jack wishes his Lego would come alive. I wish the Lego would clean itself up. Claire wishes for her teacher to get married and they could all go to the wedding. They're really charming wishes, and I've never asked Jane Godwin if they're actual wishes from kids. They feel very much like actual wishes that kids would wish for. They're lovely. Ruby isn't sure what she wants her Christmas wish to be that she's going to put on the tree. You can see some of the wishes hanging on the tree there on little cards. But she knows that it's big, and she knows that it's an important wish, but she just can't quite articulate it. What was her wish? She thinks about all of the things that she loves about Christmas, like her dad coming home from work early, and when her friends in the street make plans for the Christmas show, and the smell of baking again. Give me a picture of the kitchen and Christmas cooking, and I am happy, my friends. In fact, I've just decided I would like to collect pictures. I love Illustrator art. I'd like to collect some pictures of baking in kitchens. That will be our next mission. I love this page here, this double page spread where they're in the dark and they're looking at all of the fairy lights. And then she's still thinking about, on Christmas Day when she wakes up, she's still thinking about what her wish is. And we go on, and then she comes to the very end and they're putting on their play, and then she knows what her wish is going to be. She wishes for Christmas to always feel like this. Just is so gorgeous. I just love it. And then at the end it finishes with the question, what do you wish for? Beautiful one. Another really good one to use in schools and have a think about, encourage students to think about what they really want for Christmas and perhaps not the material possessions. I don't know, we always start with that, don't we, with kids? But, you know, when you delve a little deeper, they can be very lovely about the things that they might wish for. Okay, Sarah's True Nativities is a brand new one by Janine Fraser and Helene Madison. And I was so very sad to miss the launch of this recently at Where the Wild Things Are, because it looked exquisite, the launch. Again, really amazing end papers. I love the tones in this book. And the illustrator, Helene, often uses this deep, inky, navy blue and different tones of it in her work. She's got a book coming out about puggles, and she's actually got another Christmas book, which I think I've got here somewhere. I do. She's got another Christmas book there that she's illustrated. And again, look at that. She's used those same tones of blue. And her work is very recognisable. And again, if any of you are teacher librarians out there or parents that read lots of picture books with your kids, which I hope you all do, it's really good to start talking about the different styles of illustrators, and you will notice that they will start to recognise illustrative style. And it's a great way to start talking about visual literacy and having a conversation around illustration style and techniques. So I really love the work that Helene does. It's very, very beautiful. This is Sarah. Now, Sarah has two grandmas. She's got, this is the story of Sarah, daughter of Sadiq and Anna, granddaughter of Ali and Azar, and granddaughter of Maria and Paul. And she's got these two grandmothers, grandmother Azar and grandmother Maria, and they both do different things with her. Again, cooking. Can you see the theme of the books that I like the best? Now, grandmother Azar tells Sarah's stories from the Holy Quran. And when she comes to visit Sarah, they cook a feast of kofta, and I do love a good kofta. And I've been enjoying talking to the students at school about the ingredients that I can spot in this page. The only one that I'm not sure about is this one down here. I thought turmeric, and then I thought barberries. So Helene, if you could just let me know what those are, that would be great. Because then I talked about, I can see some citrus, and I can see star anise, and I can see cinnamon sticks and curry leaves, and the kofta being rolled, and grandmother Azar chopping the spices, and I thought maybe this was saffron over here. So I can imagine the smell of this illustration. And then grandmother Maria tells Sarah stories from the Bible, and when grandmother Maria comes, they cook cupcakes. And again, I can smell the butter and the sugar creaming. I just love the smell of cupcakes. But I do have a particular fondness for Middle Eastern food. I've got very good friends from Iran who do amazing cooking, and Momini's kofta are next level. So both of the grandmothers do different sorts of cooking with Sarah, and one tells stories from the Quran and one tells stories from the Bible. In Sarah's house, the Bible and the Quran sit together on a shelf, two books bursting with stories. Sarah loves the Nativities best. Two stories her grandmothers tell at Christmas about the birth of the baby Jesus. And then grandmother Maria tells the story of the Nativity from the Bible, and grandmother Azar tells the story of the Nativity from the Quran. And they're both different, but they have similarities. And on a first reading, I just read the story through as it is, because I like the children that I'm reading to get the flow of the story. But then on subsequent rereadings, or when we finished it, I'll then go back through and we'll talk about the similarities and the differences in the stories from the Quran and from the Bible. And then Sarah's got a question. She's like, I like the stories and they're the same in some ways, but they're different in others. So how can they both be true? This is a good question, Sarah, says Grandmother Azar. Some say only the story in the Quran is true, and some say only the story in the Bible is true. But how can we say that one is truer than the other when both tell of the mystery of God? They're both good stories, says Sarah, glad she doesn't have to choose. And then they all go and have a shared meal together. Again, all of these stories have got images and words about Christmas being a time for sharing with family and with friends, and I just love that message. And there they are, eating the cupcakes and the kofta. It's gorgeous. I haven't seen a book that for quite young children that has addressed this difference in religion so beautifully. It's a story about difference, about sameness, about diversity, about difference in religion and in food types and ethnicities. But it's also a story about the same and being tolerant and being kind and learning about other ways of seeing the world. So I really, really love it. And then we have, and this is my library copy of the book, because I can't find my copy at the moment. I'm worried I'm going to have to buy another one. This is Applesauce and the Christmas Miracle by Glenda Millard with pictures by Stephen Michael King. And this is a terrible story. I wasn't going to tell this. These end papers, I always get the students at school to guess what the story might be going to be about, or predict what the story is going to be about based on the end papers. So we talked on the front cover about how Applesauce is the pig, and eventually the kids kind of got the joke that, you know, one girl got it very quickly. She was grade 1, I think, and I said, oh, this is Applesauce, Applesauce is the pig, and she just went, roast pig with applesauce, my favourite. And all the other little girls were like, are they going to eat applesauce? They don't eat applesauce. He is a much loved pet, but it's a funny joke. Anyway, that same class, when I turned to this page and we were talking about the prediction of what the book was going to be about, can you see where this is going? One of the girls said, it's the pork crackling. And another said, oh, it's the pig skin. No, my friends, it is not. So we spent a long time looking at the front cover, out the double page spread, and talking about the landscape and what might be happening, and eventually we got that this might be fire because it's set in Australia and that is not pork crackling. Anyway, sorry if that offends you, Stephen Michael King. So this is Applesauce here, and I adore Applesauce. See this? Good librarians that we are. We always write where we got the book from and how much it cost us. So in 2008, we purchased this book from Coldrakes, which is so very sadly no longer in existence. And it was $24.95. So even back then, a hardcover picture book was $24.95. They're now around $27.95. But I really like these. A lot of librarians don't do this anymore. I really like that we still write those details in. I enjoy seeing how long a book lasts for and where we got them from. I don't know, just a little bit of librarian trivia there. One orange evening, tiger striped with blackened trees, a pig sat reminiscing. With eyes shut tight, she saw her valley as it had been. A breeze blew and the swings swayed gently from a willow bough. But then the raging bushfire had come and licked the earth bare. Now, Glenda Millard, I think, is one of the most outstanding writers in Australia. Her prose is whimsical, it is lyrical, it makes me cry. If any of you have read the Kingdom of Silk series about Tishkin Silk, you'll know exactly what I mean. I mean, her words are magic. This is a story about a bushfire which has raged through an Australian setting, and about how Applesauce the pig just ain't feeling Christmas. Al watched over Applesauce. He saw the curl in her tail unwind, and he called out, "Christmas comes from the heart, pig, from the heart." His voice was a soothing lullaby across the burnt hills. And she really, really tries so very hard, but her heart is as small as a gun, and she can't find any Christmas in there. Look at her, she's so sad. Poor Applesauce. There's all these beautiful wordless double page spreads, and you can see what's happening already. See that star up there? Where is it? It's sort of shining down on this. You know, we're already seeing the nativity story, I think. Her owners are also having a bit of a tough time at Christmas. And you may have noticed on the front cover that the woman is pregnant. The shepherd family are tending their sheep. So cute. And they see this star and they say, shining down on Joe and Marigold's house, can we call in and see them on the way home? These are the shepherds, but it's the shepherd family. So cute. And they drive to visit the couple that have lost their house, Joe and Marigold. And the next day they wake up and it's Christmas morning and the kids go down to the dam and they make bulrush hats for applesauce. And even that can't cheer poor old applesauce up. And then the three aunts arrive in the afternoon, her three elderly aunties, and they're carrying something round wrapped in a rag, a shoebox tied with a string, and an empty wooden crate. They're like the three wise men, except they're the three elderly aunties, who I'm sure are very wise. They look a little annoying, but they're gorgeous. A little bit interfering, maybe. They're just beautiful. Anyway, you can probably see what's going to happen. Marigold actually has a baby, and they lay it in the empty crate that one of the elderly aunts had brought. And Applesauce looks up at the beautiful twinkling new life on the tree and starts to remember that Christmas comes from the heart. Oh my gosh, it's the most heartwarming story. I adore it. Really, really beautiful one. Has been out for a while, but I did check and it is still available. In fact, it's ridiculously reasonably priced at the moment. So I'm going to order a few more and hope that they arrive. And then last but not least, I've got The First Christmas, which is illustrated by Jess Ratcliffe. And these illustrations are exquisite. Again, hollow end papers. Very, very beautiful. So very worthy of some fabric. So this is a traditional story of The First Christmas, and Jess Ratcliffe has done her outstanding illustrations. Actually would really, really like to know if you ever see this video, you can answer me, that would be great. I feel like there's lots of layers in her artwork. There's this layer underneath, and then I don't know if this has been added digitally. She's got these gorgeous, soft, luminescent, translucent images and colours that go over the top of her illustrations. And there's all these teeny weeny little details in there that you can see in the clouds. Mary with the baby and just gorgeous. Oh, I just noticed little three wise men in there. Anyway, this is a beautiful nativity story, really luscious illustrations, and the text is also really lovely. It's it is a retelling of the nativity story. It is the illustrations that take it to that next level. See what I mean by the translucency in these gorgeous, just love them. There's some very bright parts of the illustration where your eye is first drawn to, but then as you look closer, you see just the layers and levels of complexity and sophistication in the illustrations. It's absolutely beautiful, and in fact, I would love a nativity set just made out of these illustrations by Jess Ratcliffe, and I'm going to hang this one up on my wall instead of our nativity set. We did have a wooden nativity set, which the dog chewed a few years ago. Then I purchased a gorgeous clay nativity set, and it fell off something, and baby Jesus' head fell off, which I never take as a good sign. So I've now managed to break 2 nativities. This year I'm hanging this book on my wall as the nativity set instead of the nativity set, because I'm hoping I cannot break this book. So they're my 5 books about Christmas that I absolutely adore, but I have a stack of Christmas books. Now, for any of you who know me quite well and are watching, you may have had a little chuckle when you saw I was talking Christmas books this afternoon, particularly if Christy Aitken ever watches this video, because Christy makes fun of me every single year because I've never had a Christmas tree, and her family goes like next level all out with the whole Christmas lights thing, and I'm just not into it. I am fairly minimalist despite the background behind me. Actually, I'm not minimalist at all, but in another life, I'm going to be minimalist, and I am minimalist about Christmas. I've always just had a dead branch as my Christmas tree, And I don't know, it doesn't sit well with me to buy either a live tree that I've cut down or contribute to more plastic in the world by buying a fake tree. It's just not for me. I absolutely appreciate other people getting into it, and my kids can go and visit other people's houses and look at their Christmas trees and Christmas lights. I am just not that into it. Having said that, I may have traumatized my children because it was curbside collection at Barden where my parents lived last week, and Chickpea got out of the car when we pulled up, and she bolted down the hill, and she came running back up the hill with a really ugly plastic Christmas tree that someone had put out on the curb. So I actually do have a very ugly Christmas tree downstairs at the moment. She insisted it had to at least come to our garage so that I could think about it. So I don't know, I may... It's so gross. Anyway, at least we didn't buy it, I suppose. We've repurposed it. I don't know. I'm debating it. I'm just not into it. I'm not into like Christmas decorations, but I am into Christmas books. I love Christmas books. My collection first started with this book, which is by Kate DiCamillo, and my dear friend Beth gave Ava this book when she was born. And Beth passed away so very sadly a few years ago. She was a very, very good Catholic lady. I am not Catholic, but she explained Catholicism to me. My husband was Catholic. And I had a lot of questions about Catholicism, and I loved everything about Beth, and I think about her all the time. And she gave me this beautiful book when Ava was born, and it's remained my favourite Christmas book, probably because of the fact that Beth gave it to me. I also really like One Night by Penny Matthews and illustrated again by Stephen Michael King, who did Applesauce. I don't think this one is still in print. I love Christmas in Exeter Street. A lot of the ones that I'm showing you now aren't still in print. Chickpea really likes the Fighting Santa one. Macca's Christmas Crackers. Some of these are still in print, but I buy a few more Christmas books every year because I know that they come and go. I've actually just ordered, oh my gosh, in a very, very weak moment, I ordered a Harry Potter Christmas Advent Calendar come book situation last night. It's linked in that read more section. It was a weak moment, but I just had to have it. So I buy a few Christmas books every year and I add to my collection. And I figure that one day, my kids will no doubt need therapy that they never owned a Christmas tree, but by golly, they had Christmas books. Okay, I'm going to end there because I'm actually just raving madly like a mad woman now. It's 37 degrees in Brisbane, so that is why I'm raving like a mad woman. Have a great weekend. Bye.